It was an absolute glorious day. Just leaving the Okanagan on our way to a very special place. Yep, there is the goat.
We saw wildlife and we were just totally breathtaken by the views. Look at that.
It feels like the Similkameen Valley, but on steroids.
This is the emotional moment of the drive when you drive by that beautiful little town of Lytton, who burned down this last summer during the heat wave.
Within like half hour, the whole town was decimated by wildfire unexpectedly.
And just being there, driving by, was something emotional and a little bit spiritual. And having to see it live was, something else.
Is this a two-way road? This is a two-way road. Oh my god.
Like the old European way.
Slow down in case someone's coming around the bend.
There's nobody here. There you go.
There we go. Woohoo.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Fort Berens, here we are. Okay, let's go home.
Yes.
Hey, there's a playground here, guys.
Wait, you said
Pretty
Super
cool.
cool, hey?
Yeah.
Wow.
The heat, that's what it's cool. Like you can feel. And we're like almost in October, but it is warm down here.
Yeah.
It's warm.
Yeah.
Can feel like, I'm curious to know about the diurnal temperature though. What's the difference between the night and the hot moment of the day? It's something that I want to ask. Wow, it's hot and it's rugged. It's awesome.
Yeah. So here we are in the Fraser Valley, I believe.
Fraser Canyon.
Canyon.
Yep, Fraser Canyon.
Fraser Valley's in Vancouver. Fraser Canyon. It's gorgeous. They have a tasting room. They have a gift shop. You can buy wine there, obviously. And a full production facility right on site. And the best part is in late spring to early fall, they have this 5-star amazing restaurant that you can pair with the wines. It was just so good.
The food was world class.
World class.
World class.
So then we got chatting with one of the founders, Rolf Heleen.
So Rolf, we were driving.
Yes.
And at a certain point, after like 2 hours of just like we're the only ones on the road, Carl's like, they put a vineyard out here. Like, how'd you get this idea?
Where does that come from? Where did it come from?
Yeah. Well,
Because you guys were the first.
So there have been vineyards in this region for decades. Back
Oh, yeah?
in the 1960s, they planted, and back in the 1800s, they planted vineyards. The prospectors that were here from San Francisco, they were Italian background and that sort of stuff. They would plant vineyards and this and that. And so grape growing is not something completely new. It's not on this scale. But now, when we started looking for to start our winery, we were actually in the Okanagan, and so we're living in Kelowna, and we're working with Harry McWaters and Richard Cleve and John Villevoy from the Pacific Agricultural Research Station, and we've been looking at places, Similkameen and the South Okanagan, and at some point they all three of them said, like, have you looked at Lillooet? And independently, and after the third person said that, it's like, we gotta look up where this place is. I have no idea. You take a map and you're like, okay, well, that's not exactly like
What I was hoping for my family.
but you're like, okay, well, so why are they saying this? So we came out here in 2008, and they had small test vineyards planted in this region, and we looked at those. They had put temperature sensors, 85 temperature sensors up and down the valley from sort of Pavilion down to Lytton, and we looked at that data and compared that to Oliver and other places where they were collecting data. We're like, wow, that's remarkable in terms of heat, but also in terms of frost risk in April and in October. very similar to Oliver and Asuyas. And like, okay. And so we made a trek out here in September of 2008. Actually harvested Marachal Foch, over at the Rochard Vineyard. Met the former mayor, and yeah, we got hooked. And sort of like, you know, your experience when you drive up from the Okanagan, and you know, you go Merritt and Spence's Bridge, and then you get the Lytton, and you turn off into the Fraser Canyon, and all of a sudden you're like,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's exactly what happened to us. Like you go down, you're like, whoa.
so we went from Amsterdam to Kelowna, and then we kept on going. Which is like,
Oh, now you stole my segue, because I was like, okay, Rolf, where does Rolf come from? So Amsterdam, so you're the...
yeah. So
that's your...
we're Dutch, and so we immigrated in 2008 with the idea to start a vineyard in Canada, and we'd chosen Canada because it was practical, because we were not from the wine industry. We were driving desks, and had quite a successful career in banking and in consulting, and and then at some point the idea was born to do something different, mainly also, you know, looking at raising a family and seeing where that would fit in. And you know, you try to look at what we have been doing, you're like, okay, well, you know, you're working 80 hours a week and you're traveling around the world and that sort of stuff. It's like, where's the kid fit in? Like, how's that going to happen? Like, what time does daycare open? 5:30, 6 in the morning? You know, can we get them at 9:30 in the evening? Is that going to work? So we're like, no, that's not going to work. So that's so we looked for something different, and Heleen had been doing a sommelier's course, and so she had you know, taken an interest in wine and exposed me to a lot of the leftovers, and I was like, oh, it's amazing. Like,
That's what happened to her. She got hooked with the leftover, right? So
Oh yeah, exactly.
yeah. And it was from Greece and from, you know, these interesting Italian regions and from everywhere. And I, you know, the only thing I'd been drinking up to that point was Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire and like some red wine from Brune de Provence, and now all of a sudden I'm drinking all these different things, and you know, learning about things from what my wife was exposing me to. It was like, this is really neat. And then, you know, you go visit a bunch of wineries and that sort of stuff. So you're like, oh, that's really cool. And then as everyone that visits a winery, it's like, oh, this is really cool. You know, we should start a winery.
until you start farming.
And then comes that realization. It's like, well, it's probably going to be as easy as it looks. So we did a lot of research, and we visited a lot of wineries to talk to owners and winemakers and whatnot, and then looked at what it would require to be successful in the wine business. And and I think, you know, we came to a conclusion at some point, like, well, it's really something that we could be successful in, as long as it's in an English-speaking country. And because we had seen too many stories of these people that are going to Italy, you know, to start something, whether it's a winery or a B&B or something, and their Italian is really poor, and somebody's trying to explain something, how to do something, right? And they don't understand, and it's like the subtle, it's like, this is what you do, or this is what you not do, you know? can be missed, and so the horror stories from that sort of told us, like, let's do it somewhere where we speak the language. So there's only 5 English-speaking countries in the world that produce wine. And that's Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the United States, and Canada. And we'd never heard of wine in Canada until we visited on a holiday. And we weren't looking for wine, but we just wanted to visit BC. You know, so we did the Vancouver Island and Bella Coola and Williams Lake, Wells Great Park, the Rockies. I don't know, like the typical European BC holiday, 5,000 kilometers in 3 weeks or something. It's just like, you know, the Europeans always, you know, they always put down the Americans for doing Europe in a week, but I think Europeans are just like that, where we do Canada or BC in a week.
The diurnal
diurnal temperature.
Temperature.
You guys have a big gap in
Yeah, we do.
between. Yeah.
So particularly in September, we can have days where it's 30 degrees, 32 degrees during the day, and it'll plummet to 2 degrees at night. And so yeah, you're like, wearing t-shirts and that sort of stuff in during the afternoon, and then as soon as the sun sets in September, you can feel the cold sort of coming in, and it gets cold really quickly.
So we can thank this diurnal difference for the bright acidity. One of the signature.
Absolutely.
One of the signature from here, right?
Yeah.
That
And
bright, fleshy acidity, white and red.
Yeah. And they make very good aging wines, and so great for cellaring, and particularly for the reds. The chemistry on the reds is so that you just have to look at that. It's like it'll age for a long time, and we tasted 2009s and 2010s recently, and they're holding up beautifully.
Oh,
awesome.
Make my mouth watering.
Baby, you ought to know this ain't my first rodeo.
What's the rock star of this pack, Carl Boucher?
You know what? I love many things about lots of these wines. The Pinot Noir is great. I love the Rieslings. The Pinot Gris is nice and versatile, I would say. So there's many different, like the Camels, the two entry-level wines. They are great wine for under $20, but of all of the wine, this is my rock star. This is the Meritage 2018 92 points Carl's Wine Club. I love the depth. I love the concentration. I love the, I would say, the complexity, definitely. It's juicy. I can feel the warm bowl that where we're sitting in here. We're between the mountains. It's one of the hottest spots in the country, and rich, ripe fruit, but also there's a fresh acidity right in the mid palate. This wine can age for a very long time. 2018 Fort Berens, boom. Meritage, I love it.
Rolf and his family not only showed the world that we can grow and ripen grapes in the north of BC and Lillooet, but also that we can win awards. That was one of the first ones in 2012, the Lieutenant Governor's Award of Excellence, that put them on the map. We were so impressed with Fort Berens, with the wines, with the food, with the people, and the bears. There and back, we saw some bears and the wildlife. It was just an incredible journey. We're so glad to have you with us. Hope you enjoy this discovery as much as we did. Cheers.